silver theme today. Okay. What a Difference Your Love Makes by Basement Jacks, by the way. Before we start, yes, it powers 880, 600 ohm. If that's all you came here for, there you go. You're done. You could check out now. I've explained the entirety of the Ragnarok 2 to you. Shit. This is the biggest pile of shit I think I've ever had. Yeah, it's thick. It's thick, big pile of shit. So this was sent to me by a user. And they bought, here, I'll show you real quick. Sorry, Rika, I gotta do a thing. So you have the choice, $1,500 for the amp, just an amp. Or you go down and you go fully loaded, and it's $1,800. That's a $300 difference. So here's what that does. We're gonna get to the back of it eventually. I don't know how I'm gonna, this thing is 35 pounds, so it's not easy to like dick with. But basically, when you get just an amp, you get 3 RCA inputs. When you get it fully loaded, one of those RCA inputs is a phono pre, so that you could use your turntable, and the other one becomes a multi-bit DAC. And let me lower it on the IMs I'm burning in. And the problem with that, as I see it, even if they only, maybe it's $100 worth of phono pre, because it's just a little tiny card. And the DAC is like a little tiny card also. It's kind of like the Jotunheim used to have. I don't see spending $1,500 on a 60 watt per channel speaker amp slash preamp for balanced sources slash ridiculous headphone amp, 24 watts per channel balanced. 6 watts per channel unbalanced. I think I'll double check the numbers. So this is a big thing. And I don't think you just throw like $200 at the DAC. As much as I think, oh, DAC, and as much as I think, oh, put a DAC internally would probably be beneficial because you don't have to use wires and there's less exposure. But I'm glad the person who bought this bought it with no DAC, because that means I get to play this fun game where I have the SMSL VMVD1 here, the Schiit Modius here, and I'm also running the slightly gimped Musician Pegasus, which has been recalled for things, and they're fixing it before they release that DAC. But I have an advanced version, and it gets weird sometimes. So we're just gonna let all that sink in. So now I have 2 fully balanced DACs input into this, and the unbalanced output of that into this. And I could come over here and run the Aoun X8 Magic DAC into it, and then one other source. So what the hell is this, Eos? You tried to describe it. So it's a speaker amp, big heat sinks on either side. I think it's 100 watts into 4 ohms, 60 watts into 8 ohm. The front has multiple buttons. We've got source select. We've got whether it's the headphone out or the pre-outs in the back, or both. We've got the gain switch, which is here, and it's stupid, and it should be here, or this should, we'll get to it. And then you have a 1/4 inch and a balanced output. And here's where the power switch should be if they weren't shit. Because it's on the back, of course, it's fucking on the back. If you came here just to find out where the power switch was, it's on the back. It's like, wait, here, it's here. So I'll yell at them for that eventually later. It does have a remote control. It is a remote controlled unit. I'm going to yell a little bit at shit for this because it's not a $2,000 amp, but I know somehow this feels to me like the most bang for your buck, so they have to cut corners somewhere. But I'm tired of these remotes that are like a solid hewn block of aluminum. Like here's the SMSL VMVD1 D11. And at least this has like a full panel here with nice, this could literally be this remote that you would like get with like a shitty $2 projector here. Ready? In fact, if you hit this button on the back, you push a pin through that, it'll pop this whole plastic bit out so you can change the battery. This is not a remote. This is just, it's terrible. If you buy this and you intend to use it as a preamp, like when I first got this, it was in my living room. I hooked up speakers to it. I think they were the Buchart S400s. And I had a DAC hooked up to it. I don't remember which one it was, SMSL, something with a remote. And I was trying to use this because it makes sense when you're using the amplifier, like when you're using the amplifier. Using this as an amplifier, you want that crazy ladder of relays to be the thing that's doing the volume adjustment, so that's perfect. But this remote sucks so hard, I ended up using like the SMSL remote on the like a $100 fucking DAC just because it was so much easier. So this is shit. Come on. It also can get a little bit like touchy. Like if you can get it, you can get it. Sometimes you click it, it doesn't even click a relay. I'll do the remote, I guess. I'll get it out of the way. Volume up and down, little tiny fuck off buttons. Mute, which I love hitting mute because it sounds like 7 giant relays click off like Jurassic Park when she's turning the switch back on. It's like someone is literally in there going like the old electric chair ones. You have your choice between headphone and it says it's a picture of a speaker. I think that controls also the speaker outs. So we have the line outs and the speaker outs are on that. Then you have your gain control, which is low, medium, and high. I just want to point out those on high gain at 2 o'clock with full output of either the Modius or the D1. So just so you get like a, I mean, we're not balanced, so it's not the 25 watts, it's still only the 6. But if you look, it's actually still a little less powerful than these full out on the Bass X. I think this is a better amplifier than the Bass X, and it should be for 5.5, 6 times the price. So we're moving on. And then you have up here, which is your input select. And it's one of the, like, I gotta get down on my hands and knees for this. Because I can't lift the front of this up because it weighs too much and I want to show a thing. Here's what the fascia looks like. Let's angle the camera. I'm going to forget to put that back up. There's a Schiit logo there. It says Ragnarok. Beautiful recessed buttons and this beautiful cutout with white LED arrays. You got 5 LEDs there. You could switch between your input sources. See how long it takes to get through them though? That's mildly annoying. This second button is that speaker, that's headphone, that's both. And then this button, well, that controls the LEDs over the fuck here, which are high, medium, low gain, which are not just for the headphone, even though the headphone rack is right next to the thing. So that button is low, medium. It feels like the unit feels slow. It feels like an ancient piece of equipment because of the lag between everything. And I'm sure there's mechanical reasons for that. I'm not going to really complain too bad. It's just that when I'm doing testing and I have 3 DACs hooked up and I need to go from, that's input, let me think, that's 5, 1, and 2. If I'm on 1 and I want to go to 5, it's like, okay, we're there. And it's the same thing with the remote. So it's just forever. I'm kneeling on the floor. This is one of the first reviews I've ever had to kneel for. I really love the look of it. It would look even better, though, with another one of these silver buttons over here to turn it on and off. Just bringing that up. Keep bringing that fucking up. Get back over here, chair. God damn it. So, Zeos. You picked Rika's background. You got thickness going on. Why are you using a Modius? Well, because I just got it. I reviewed it already. And frankly, it's fucking really good. Like, it's really good to the point where I wanted to know, and I can't think of a better test bench situation than a $1,500 amp that can push those or these to a point. These, we'll get to them. I have the A90 sitting over here because I'm using this as a preamp out to feed to the A90 to see if it adds any flavor to it. And I don't think it's doing like, it's not doing like wild Class A warmth out of the balanced outputs, but I wanted to know. So I got the topping out, I got these out. Oh, my lovely 909s. I'm gonna make love to you. You and me, we want to go to France. We're going to buy cheese. I'm gonna unplug this. I'm on that musician out. I'm gonna turn this up a bit. The high-low medium gain also affects all the outputs, by the way. So if you're using an RCA output or the XLR output, low gain, this is quiet. Medium gain, this is louder. High gain, that makes most sense. So I'm gonna set that to noon, and then we're gonna control it here. Now, I don't recommend, I mean, you can do it like I'm doing it here. If you were setting up like multiple balanced headphone amplifiers, I wouldn't pass through this to this unless your headphone amplifier for some reason didn't have a volume knob. I would get a splitter and split the actual balance source so that this has its own volume control and it's alone, and this has its own volume control and it's alone. Because right now, this volume control is controlling the output to go to this volume control, and that can be mildly dangerous, especially when you're flipping between low, medium, and high gains in this, and it affects that, whatever's plugged into it, like your $1,800 Japanese-made, very, very, very delicate headphones. So just a note, I just have it here to represent like a power amp or speakers. That's what this is. And then I have multiple DACs because why the fuck not? And then we have multiple headphones because we're going to play with everything. And I'm going to talk about the 600s for a little bit. All right, where's my dot? I yanked that off before, don't worry. That fucking dot is fucking pitiful. If this was my unit, if I bought this, the very first thing I do is I would take this knob off, which is just a matter of pulling it off. It's got a plastic insert. I would go to my chop saw. My full fuck 12-inch chop saw. I would lay this down perfectly on the bed. I'd line it up. I'd clamp it. And I would put a notch from the center to about there. I would just remove elements of this. And then I could fill it with Play-Doh or silly putty or, you know, dried crusted bath water from putting it on the internet. Just whatever. Just so I could see it. Because here's another reason I was using the fucking SMSL remote to control the DAC instead of using the thing. Is because when a song is muted or the unit is paused, something your source is paused, and you're trying to use this with a remote, which means you're more than like this far away. When you're like, oh, I don't know, like far, that's pitiful. Shit, that's pitiful. Come on, you've got this thick fucking Rika's thighs thick unit, and you're like, you accidentally maybe dropped on this and it has a little I would mark the crap out of this. Every unit there. I mean, I've added these. Even that dot, that dimple and that gold there is still more visible than that. This is horrifying. I love Schiit. They've really come up. They've really brought like the audio back. The heresies, like they sold me back. They're back to cheap and good. But they still fuck around with the power switch on the back. Because you're never supposed to shut off their gear. It can only use at maximum 500 watts if it's, you know, powering it. It's fine. No. And that's bullshit. So I'm going to put that back on right now. Or we could take it off and take the cover off the unit, because we're obviously going to do that. Hold, please. That goes there. I have to see where the hell that is. Now, there we go. Okay, so what was I saying? I got distracted by anger. Which is that's playing, that's outputting. Oh, there's nothing plugged in. There's nothing plugged in. That explains many things. There we go. That was down. So now I look at this and I say, okay, that's specifically noon because I'm a foot away from it. There's 1 o'clock. Medium gain here. Yeah, I literally tested the other day. I tested Modius to A90 because this is my favorite headphone amplifier. Even with this on the desk, I'd still say this is the more well-rounded. Like, you don't need to spend 3 times more to power headphones. You can, and it certainly pushes the shit out of the DT880s. And there's other more flagrant reasons of like, I need to have this giant thing. If you're buying this. And I know this is going to come as a shock to many people, but I'm going to recommend you not buy the Ragnarok 2 if all you're going to do is headphones. There are other less expensive options. And for the price of this, you can get this and a dark voice with like $200 in tubes. And what else? We're going to Rebel amp? You got it. You want to get a 789? Done. You know, you could get 3 different amplifiers that do totally different things. Instead of this one. You get this when you want everything. You want the speaker outs. You want the balanced line outs. You want the unbalanced line outs. You want the fact that it's 30-something pounds on your desk. That's when you can use it all. Don't get it just for the headphone outputs. There are other options. But if you're like Zeos, I need an all-in-one solution for powering speakers or feeding powered monitors, and I want to do my headphones, and I got $1,500, and it wouldn't hurt if it had multiple inputs to switch between, because that's the thing. Like, people ask me for something, and like, by the way, I have 3 things to plug into it, and I'm like, oh shit. If they're not all digital, it's very hard to get a DAC. DACs can usually do fiber optic, coaxial digital, and then USB. That could cover 3 items. But when people have a turntable that's analog, and then, you know, an old game console, or they have their own DAC, or like JDS Labs Element 2, and it's like, I want to use that as my DAC, and I just want a headphone amp, speaker amp. This starts to make sense. You're looking at the price range where it's like, if this was sold by someone other than Schiit, and it wasn't, you know, complete crap, it wasn't a pile unit, this would cost a hell of a lot more than $1,500. So they've done a wondrous job of making this affordable. So what are we going to do now? Other than listen to Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses on TH909s. I'm going to switch between it, wait. Oh, yeah. You could definitely tell that the balance outputs are way higher. Putting you down for a second. Lower this. Let's plug in the HD600s, because there's a thing I had. I wasn't sure if it was the unit itself or the headphones, and it turns out it's mostly the headphones. Those of you who have had the joy of listening to HD600s, down. Let's put this on like a medium gain, and there's like a fucking million minute delay. Look, I'm a younger person. I need shit to happen fast. So this is going to be absolutely annoying for anyone who has more than, I'm going to say, 50 people they follow on Instagram. If you only have 50 people you follow on Instagram or less, this is fine for you. And that's me. I actually don't use Instagram that much. But if you're one of those people that's like, just 200 people's lives just went by, this is going to kill you, your whole soul. If you're a vinyl person, this will probably be okay, because you're used to the slow pace of open it up, turn it on, power, list the thing. Oh, did you check it? Okay, yeah. But if you're one of those people who's on Spotify and you're like, next track, I hate this track, delete this, next. Okay, this is the one. Then just, if you have to do what I'm doing where you're switching between things a lot, it's gonna feel sluggish. All right, one thing I did notice about the volume controls, it does that wonderful relay click thing, which makes everything perfect, and it's perfect volume. It doesn't really make go, because I'm on medium gain now, because, you know, you want to sort of test like the waters before you go to high gain. That's pretty much my advice for everybody and everything. But it doesn't really make the go. Like here, ready? First of all, even with it all the way down, there's sound coming through the headphones. It's very, very light, but it's there. So now I'm going to start making clickies happen. Okay, now it's starting to actually play. I'm at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and the song fucking changed. Not the Beatles, not the Beatles. Korn coming and done live, fine, perfect. 12 o'clock. The ramp up of sound from off to like 11 o'clock is almost non-existent. It's like I'm gonna make it so this, yeah, you could tell. Then from 11 to 12 is like it's like it's like a Kaioken times 3 over there. It just goes like So you have to just, which makes it difficult to use the remote. Of course, the remote, well, it's the wrong remote, which makes it difficult to use the remote. I like that remote better, because it's mechanically rotating the knob, and I should get a piece of fucking paper. Like, you could tap it and get very small movements out of it. But get this. Now, I have headphone things plugged into the front. The infrared reader is in between them. So if you happen to have plugs plugged in or something, even if you can switch between front and back. So I'm assuming you'd have the remote not for your headphones unless for some reason you have like an 80-foot headphone cable, but for the back. If you leave your headphones plugged in the front, you're now getting a very narrow path to the infrared receiver. And you might hit the button and nothing happens. And you hit the button and you hit the button. And you're like, you doing one of these? You ever do one of these? Look, I'm doing one of these. From like, it's a little bit too low to this is way too loud takes about 3/4 of a second. So if you're having a hard time, you have to click every time. And since you can't see the indicator, honestly, you can't tell it's changing the volume. There might be some very, very infinitesimally small like dropouts as the relays are clicking between each other. Because that's how it's doing the volume. It's just switching between different ladder works. So that's just an annoyance. It's just an annoyance. If you're putting this on your desk, which is probably where you're putting it, I could see this absolutely going in a living room. I was using it in a living room. It's just annoying. There's a little bit of annoying there. You gotta fix the volume indicator and get it yourself. I hate recommending Logitech remotes because I never liked them. But they were shiny plastic, but they've come a long way. Get a learning remote and say, hello, shit remote. Talk to a remote that doesn't suck. And then use a remote that doesn't suck. By the way, this is an old Emotiva remote from my XDA2. Shit, if you're listening to this, and I'm sure someone at Schiit's watching this. Hi, how are you doing? You guys make good stuff. I was going to say shit, but I didn't. I'm going to stop the meme right now. See this remote? Make something like this that's an absolutely generic remote. Make 1,000 of them. Make it just put AA batteries in it and some aluminum. And oh, it's beautiful. I love this remote. I love this remote. Use those buttons, in fact, on this. And sell it to people as a blank remote because we can use it on our mini DSPs and our the FLIRCs and any other thing. And then you could just sell a crazy good remote as an extra because people, you know, people on your site are going to buy extra. Even if this was $100, I think that would be too much. But if it was like $50 to $100 to get like the deluxe fuck you remote, and call it that, the FUKU, fuku remote, I'd buy it. I'd buy it to use in my living room just so I could have a remote because I just need generic remote controls because everything else learns infrared anyway. And if you made it a learning remote, though, that would be even better. Like, oh my God. Imagine having a beautiful remote control, which, by the way, I have the foam on the side, which really makes it comfortable to hold, and then it's metal. Oh, it's fantastic. I love changing tracks with it. But that's my advice to shit. Give a generic remote like this. This is too nice to be generic remote, but it's not nice enough that you don't need a fucking other remote. So my shit wish list grows. Although really, shit doesn't have many items they need to use a remote control on. What maybe the Freya was one? Did the Freya have a remote? And the Vidars are just power amps, so they don't need it. So it's one of those dreams that will never come true. However, I think people would buy, in fact, in the comments of this video, someone say if you would buy just a fucking wildly nice aluminum remote from Schiit. I would. And the most important thing is that wherever your thumb rests, that's volume up and down. And then play, pause, next track, whatever you want to do. Just generic buttons. Generic buttons. Generic buttons is what it's called. All right. So now I'm plugged into the single-ended. And what I wanted to show you about the HD600s is, and there's going to be a volume difference between the two, so I'm going to lower it a little bit, and then I'm going to pop this out and plug this in. Completely different headphones. Balancing HD600s, and I tested this. I thought it was just this unit, and I'm like, whoa. Like not just like, oh, that sounds a little different. Like, holy, wider, more prominent details. Like, it sounds mono and single-ended. I tested on the A90, which is being fed from this unit, but that doesn't give a shit. Also, balanced, unbalanced. So if you have HD600s, I'll link in the description if I could find a cheap one. Because, I mean, you can get a Hart audio cable if you feel like it. These are the Harts with the long purple adapter there. Run them balanced on everything. I can't run them balanced on a tube, unfortunately. I don't have a balanced. I do have a balanced tube. It's right on my desk. There it is. Boom. I have the Tor. So yes, you're going to have to link to the Tor balanced amp. I know, we're not even talking about it in the review, but it's over there. And you should link that. Because these on that... Have I used these on that since I reviewed it? I'm very busy. I can't just spend time with fun. It's work. Back to what I was talking about. It's so good. I'm gonna unplug this for a second. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna unplug this. I'm gonna bring it over here. There's definitely, I don't think there's any problem with this. There's a little bit more of a brightness and warmth to this. I think it's more, it's just more power than that. That's not fucking nothing. That's 7.6 watts per channel. That might actually be more powerful than this. I don't want to do the math. Someone else do the math, all right? Zeus is fucking losing his mind. Big things. Oh, good. Led Zeppelin's playing. Nothing wrong with Led Zeppelin. Oh, this is on medium gain, by the way. Just want to point that out. So, I think for a headphone amp, it's definitely top tier. I'm not arguing that fact. You have to grasp the concept that Zeus is not here saying, oh, you know, that or this. It's, if you need a headphone amplifier, fucking yes. Just that should be enough for me to tell you. Like, we're talking about Solaris level tube. The Rebel amp is very magical with its Class A. The Topping A90, probably the best overall sounding amp. In fact, I'll do this where I lower that, pull that one out, because I don't have a hard audio cable that goes to my 909s, because no one loves me. Plug that in here. And we're going to just, we're on, oh, we've been on the Modius this whole time, by the way. If we want to switch to the D1, it's now on the D1. And I'm having a legit, I had to put a lot of effort into trying to hear a difference between a once $1,300 DAC and a $200 DAC. So what that says to me is don't fucking worry about it. And we're going to go up and it's like 12 noon. Whoa, 2. From 12 to 2 is like, no. Let's go higher gain. Because I know the 909s are extremely pain in the asses to power. Like, if you don't power the 909s properly, they will sound harsh, they will lack low end, they will have just crunchy imaging, like everything just sounds good. So when you power them right, you know, I'm definitely feeling that it's the same feeling. It's the same feeling between that and this, where I don't want to call it a coloration because that'll make people go, oh, that amp's colored. You don't want that. You're talking about massive, massive differences in internals, and I will now show you the internals. So I spent the time to take the damn thing apart, basically. You have to pull this off. You've got to remove the nut. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 screws, and then it makes this horrific sound that I'm not going to turn off the unit, because if I die on camera, someone will upload this video. I just want to make I want it to not make the horrific sound, but it's gonna, because it's... That wasn't bad, actually. So here's your cap cover, and that is now the cover on the floor. And, ooh. And there's not much in here. It surprised me a bit. Because from the weight, I know there's a picture of it online. Look, I could have been spoilered, but I didn't look at the picture online because I like opening it up and feeling. This fucking block is the power brick, and it is 80% of the weight of this unit is this thing. And it doesn't have like super thick wires coming out of it, but all of them, it's got like chicken wire on top. I kind of like that. 4 rather large capacitors. Very clean wiring from here to look, they're bringing here's the power, and there's the power switch. See that black wire that goes from there to there? They just have to bring that wire here, and then they could put a switch. But they didn't. So, I mean, you could do that. If the owner would like, I have a drill bit, and the switch. And I'll just put one right here. Fuck it. Yeah, look at this. Look. It's very, very lightweight. And then they have the, there's the ICs for the amps all on the back half, but the entire side of the unit is made up. Look at this, like 1 centimeter thick, 1 centimeter is what, like, Echo, how many inches is 1 centimeter?
1 centimeter is about 0.39 inches.
0.39 inches. 3/8 of an inch? I'm just going to say 3/8 of an inch. So you got like 0.39 inches of aluminum here with some... They've actually like taken the edge off of this. I really complained on the Vidar because my fingers were bleeding. And I tend to complain when I'm bleeding. Just like, oh, I could make a real distasteful joke. It's a wonderful unit design as far as simplicity go. I love the front panel here, look. Except for the fact that the high-low gain, which controls this series of lights, is next to these series of lights. And you know how many times, and I've had this for a while, that I've gone, I want to change the input. Oh. Oh, you want to hear, oh, I should hit the mute button. Wait, where is it? Because you can't mute with the front. Mute's not as impressive with the cover off. However, what is more impressive with the cover off is the volume control. And we are... Nope. See, I did it again. Now it's going to output to this. This isn't plugged into anything. Let's plug you into you. And then plug you into you. And now you, which are amazing, come here. And now you're going to set to half on high gain. And you're on high gain. Now we're going to set you to medium gain. Medium gain. This would almost be solved if there was a input up, input down button, because then I wouldn't mind going click over. Oh wait, I fucked up. Click back. Because click over, click over, click over, click over, click, then I'm back. Too many clicks. This is Peak Peace Orchestra, Who Am I? The Animatrix mix. Props to the Animatrix for having amazing music. I love how everything is separated. Like, look how far away this 12 volt plus or minus 6 volt pre-regulation is. This is laid out. You know how this is laid out? If I was learning electronic circuitry, which I did take in high school, they give you a piece of paper and you have to draw it out. Like the 5th revision of me drawing out what needs to happen, I would have spaced everything way out, way apart from each other, so I could understand it. That's how this is built. Nothing is crowded on top of one another. It's all just, like, that's its thing, that's its thing, these are its thing. I put the big brick over here, and this is its own little space. Nexus integrated amplifier. Let's unplug that. Plug this into here. Since we are reviewing this, not that, but that still going to be linked in the description. I don't care. Ooh, it sounds so good. And there are LEDs. If you look there, there's a couple orange ones sort of glowing. And those are part of the circuit. And I had to have someone at Schiit explain it to me. Or was that Questile? I think it was either Questile or Schiit. Someone explained, no, those are part of the ICs that regulate things. So it's nice to see that. You can't see it through the lid. The lid only has, you know, a handful of vents and off-centered, even though the heat mostly comes from here. But the whole unit sort of gets like warm on the inside, and there's identical ICs. What they should have done, and I guess they just wanted to line it up with the volume control, what they should have done is gone horizontally with it to come over. These bits are the bits that are going to get hot. Nothing up here is going to get hot. Unless that gets super hot, but it shouldn't. Whatever. We have to look at the back of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to turn it off, which is here. Because fucking shit, that's why. We have to stand it up, and you're about to see some shit. Get it? Everything's shitty. The whole world is a pile of shit. Put you here. That's fine. That's also someone else's. I'm going to unplug you from power. We're going to unplug literally the lot. So here's this, here's this. Then we've got so many XLRs. Oh my Lord. Run your hand across to make sure. It shouldn't have too much like instability as far as the structure, as long as I stay on these pieces of wood, which I have put down. Because it would crush my table, though the soft bit of my table will be destroyed physically. We have got, here are your, that's a loose one, 5-way binding posts for left and right. And as a speaker amp, I'd say this, I want to say the word excels, but at the same time, it ain't that. Like, it isn't a tube amp. It's just a very good solid state amp. If you bought, I would almost say, in fact, here's, you ready for the words? Right, here comes the words. Zeos loves words. I would rather see someone buy this to be a dedicated speaker amp than buy it to be a dedicated headphone amp. I feel like this is more akin to the dimensions and size of it, to what it's doing. I feel like you could spend a little more on a speaker amp that's quality, that has remote control, that has, you know, built-in switching. I feel like it's more this. And the headphone amp, while not an afterthought because it's fucking still top tier, I'm basically telling you this is a worthwhile amplifier. Here are the two interchangeable slots that if you get the fully loaded one is phono and the other one is a USB DAC. If you were going for speakers and you just want to throw that $300, if you're going for a full-on living room setup, you're never going to plug headphones into it, honestly, it seems to make a little bit more sense, because I don't think you could pick out a DAC as easily, like the fucking minutia of a DAC on speakers, on any amp, in any room. I mean, there's certainly some that people are going to argue later. Headphones, I think you want to have a little bit more like direct control of every bit of the source, because it's on your fucking head or it's an IM in your ear. But if you're in the living room, just, you know, fuck it, throw it in there. Not fiber optic, though, which would make it a lot easier to be in a living room, because then you wouldn't be hooking it up to a computer. For this, if you're getting it for your living room and you're going to use it for like your TV, you're going to need some sort of DAC. Probably not that one. That one would work fine. Fiber optic into it, then feed this with the XLR RCA. Here are your inputs for balanced. Balance number 1, balance number 2. They don't say what it is. It just shows pictures of it, because that's what's on the front. Then you have your card, and then single-ended in. Here's your pre-out RCA, which I wasn't hooked up to in anything. I was hooked up to the single-ended in. And here's your pre-out for this, which was feeding that, which you would feed this out to another amplifier. If you got this with the built-in DAC, you could feed other things with it, etc. And it's basically fine except for this. Fuck this. Fuck that being there. At least I could find it. It isn't like under the things and I'm like fishing around dark. But it's on the back still, and I already showed you. Can I lay this down now again? Without crushing my hands, because this will hurt real bad. Oh, God. Yeah. You take this wire. See this wire? It's even got a thing. You just take it, you cut that wire, and then you go, whee, and then you bring the wire back. And that's it. And that makes this part longer, which then becomes a switch. So, I should probably put the cover back on. And I'll put it on properly. But let's wrap this review up, because it's just words now. I've tested it. I know what it sounds like. I know what its capabilities are. I know what its flaws mostly are. I'm sure there's something else that I'm not 100%. Please don't make the sound. I did it without it making the sound. It was a horrible screeching noise. Give me knob. Give knob. I think for $1,500, you'd be hard-pressed to find something as good as this, like a total package. If you're like, I want to do a living room setup, if you're using very, very fine speakers, Bucarts, you know, those Yamos, the new Yamos, something that, or even powered monitors in your living room. Because as much as I'm not hearing like as much coloration in this, the fact that you can use it as a pre, well, you know what? Fuck that. Forget that. I said that. Undo. Because I'm not hearing enough difference going DAC to this and then DAC to this to say, oh, well, it's going to add flavor. That I mean, granted, that's $6,000 with a DAC built into it. Only $5,000 if it's an amp. But when you run a signal into it, and then it runs through 8 massive tubes, and then runs to another unit, you definitely get a flavor change. And with this, it's not really worth it. It doesn't flavor the sound coming out of it enough to say, okay, I'm just going to use this as a preamp. The remote control's certainly not up to spec to say, oh, I'm going to spend $1,500 to use this just as a preamp. There are other preamps. Or every DAC, even the SMSL there, has a remote. I can just, look, 37, 36, I can use that. That's cheaper than this. If you want to just power speakers, get that. Get a D90, although the D90's volume control has other issues. There's answers. There's solutions to your problems. This, I feel, has to be used, and ignore the wood, please. Look at. It's so fucking heavy. Like, I dreaded moving this thing around. Every time I was like, oh, it's in the way over here, I had to figure out how I'm getting my hands under the front or the front and back and try not to cut my legs open. I'm going to say yes to this. I'm saying yes to the rag. Put me on the rag. I'm on the rag. I'm on the rag bandwagon. But I highly recommend you assess your entire situation before you buy one. You would best, just like I said with that, and that's way more money, but just like I said with that, don't buy that if you can't use every part of it. There's no point in buying a sports car if all you're going to do is drive to your end of your driveway and get your mail, because then it's like it's a little bit too expensive and it isn't that comfortable for that. You get a golf cart for that. Figure out what you're doing and if this fits the bill. If you're willing to spend, let's just say you were spend half that, $750. Can you do better for $750? Possibly. Can you do the same for $750? Maybe. But if you want this, because this is a thing, this is an event, I can't stop you. So yes, speakers, buy it. Headphones, if you have to do speakers, and I would highly, I just want to beat this into you, get it if you're going to use at least both of those. At least both of those things. I mean, that thing's hooked up to those monsters. So I can say, oh, I'm using the Solaris properly because, which that's going to be interesting in the future, what I do with that. Anyway, this has been the Shit Rag, Ragnarok 2, Rise of Thor. And I approve it highly. I approve of it. I prove it highly. It's just giant. And while not overly expensive for what it can produce, it's just make sure you need it. Make sure you need it. Rika's thighs, you can download those in the description. Crop that out, put it on your phone, get weird looks at the grocery store. These reviews, you want to see them early? Up to 2 weeks now. We got a nice big thick buffer. Please join the Patreon and Subscribe Star that supports this channel and the madness that's on it. You see, I may not have bought this, but someone shipped it to me, which means I have to ship and insure it to them. And oh man, I think he's continental United States, so we'll be all right with that. See the reviews early. Ask me any questions you want on platform. Try to keep the questions like in Patreon or Subscribe Star to a shorter length. Just give me something small to start with. Hey Zeos, love the channel. I have this I need. What do you think? I'm great. When it's, hey Zeos, love the channel. I have these 7 headphones and I have 9 amps. And then my uncle from Germany, he brought me back this. And it was like challah bread, but I didn't really like it. But anyway, let's go back to headphones. And it's like, fuck, I have 27 of these to do today. Please be simple with them. However, if you don't want to be simple with them, you can join the $10 Patreon chat, where you could literally go on because I can answer with my mouth. When I can answer with my phone on Telegram, the app, or on a good microphone, or you could post pictures back and forth, we could have a communication. It's way easier. So that behind the scenes Telegram chat is the $10 tier. Back to the $5 tier, yard sales I didn't mention. Several items that are visible right now will be in the yard sale. I'm not going to point out which ones, mostly those, but not this. But the yard sales happen from the 1st to the 10th of every month. And anything companies have sent me that I don't need, or users have sent me and said, hey, I'm donating this to the channel, or I have purchased, I will sell at a loss with no starting bids, and I ship free, continental United States, half shipping international. If you live somewhere where you can't get an item and I'm selling it, I will ship it to you. You'll just pay half shipping. One time I had to ship a pair of those C103s to South Africa. The shipping was $347. Luckily, I made that person pay the entire amount of shipping because that was stupid. But that was part of the deal. If you lived somewhere, no, I'm sorry, that was a fixed price with free shipping. It was like $700. I paid $130. I made like $200 in that deal. It was fucking murderous. Then they had to call South Africa because no one knew where they were. Do not ship to South Africa if you could avoid it. Just saying. Anyway, back to this. Links to this. Links in the description usually in these videos are all chronological. When I sit down to rewatch this and I'm going, man, that joke was unfunny, I'm just writing down the items that I'm talking about so that you can just reference them throughout the video. So if you just expand the description, you can be like, all right, he talked about this and he talked about that, and then he did mention that and that. So if you ever get lost, it's down there. Rika, Hi-Fi Guides. We have the site and we have the forum. The site usually has recommendations. I could probably put this under headphone amp. We don't have a speaker amp section. So this would count as just a headphone amp in the sources. But if it has a DAC built in, then it's a DAC, and that's more confusing. But the forums are very active, and we have a new mod staff going in there. We're trying to keep up with everything that's going on because it's growing like crazy. So if you want to check out the forums, that's a thing. And I think I'm done with this video for today. I hope the camera was pointed correctly after I adjusted it, because I needed to yell about the front of it. And that's basically today's video. I'll be here tomorrow for another video. Oh, feel free, by the way, if you have a Ragnarok, either post about it in the comments or find the post on Hi-Fi Guide forums, and every review is welcome. If you don't like something I said, go and correct me there. Correct me here. Correct me the next time I'm walking out of your mother's bedroom after giving her sweet, sweet love. Wow, did I just tell my whole audience I fucked their moms? I had to reevaluate my closing statements. Hold on.